If Mind Your Business was a town, it is all of these people. I don't even know what the police are doing, because the police themselves was mad. They was like, these parents keep coming up to us, asking us for updates on the case about they missing kids. Yeah, nigga. Like, why would they not ask that? Hey everybody, it's me, Minu. Yes, I know I don't have a background, but I have my skull candelabra here. It's not lighting anything because all the candles I have are spiritual candles and they are for specific purposes. You may hear Sadie standing right outside the camera, chewing on the strings attached to my blinds because of course she does. Of course she has to do that. Anyway, today I want to talk about weapons. Now, I still don't fully understand what I watched, but I will try to explain it. A little bit later, but let me just get into the fact that there was two things that were affecting my ability to enjoy the movie. One was the fact that the theater next door was so loud. I don't know if it's an action movie or what, but there was genuinely moments where everything was quiet in our theater, but the next door theater was like playing all of this music, so I couldn't fully like immerse myself in the creepiness of the scene because I was hearing music from the other one, or I was hearing an action scene from the other theater that was making it really hard for me. It was like taking me out. But I will say, this movie is creepy as hell. And I mean, compared to like Barbarian, because that's the only thing you can compare it to because it's the same director, I felt like this movie was way more creepy. And don't get me wrong, Barbarian, I felt the creep factor in the sense that, you know, you are in a sketchy neighborhood in the middle of the night and there's this weird guy, you don't know if he's safe or not, and like all of that. Like, I get that part. But then, you know, shit goes off the rails at the end. This one, shit went off the rails from the beginning, and there was random things that were happening that made absolutely no sense. And like from the beginning, I was getting more Hereditary vibes because I was getting more like there's something bigger going on that the characters don't necessarily understand is happening. And you're trying to like piece together the little bits and pieces of things without fully knowing what's going on. And I will tell you, like, it is explained at the end, like how everything happened. But as somebody who really loves to like watch movies and cannot help herself, I cannot help myself from this, but try to predict where the movie is going to go. I had no idea what was happening. Even at the end, I was like, what? How? And it's like they explained a lot, but they didn't over explain. So there's like still questions about what the fuck was that? Where did that come from? Who was that bitch? Like, I really don't know. And I like that to an extent because I feel like a lot of movies, they try to like explain every little bit and piece of it and kind of ruin the lore. So I think not telling us some of the things kept it creepy, kept it scary. I did see some comments from people saying that they felt like the movie had some genuine like comedic elements, which I thought was funny because there were elements where it was genuinely creepy, but then there were moments where everything was just kind of like, what the fuck? And people in the theater were genuinely laughing and also kind of cheering. Like they were like, they thought it was funny, but then they were also like, yeah, you know, and it was just so weird because it all came across creepy as fuck and scary to me. I don't even think I laughed at all through the entire movie, but I can pick up on the scenes where they're like, oh, okay, I can see where people were saying like there was some funny moments in the thing, especially with some of how the characters reacted. I thought going into this movie that it was going to be like Hereditary, like some kind of cult thing, because the whole synopsis is that in the middle of the night, 17 kids, all from the same class, just walk out of their houses and they just walk off into the darkness and they're just gone. The crazy part about this is, and I'm going to get into the movie now and a lot of the questions that I had as the movie was unfolding, they know that the kids all left at exactly 2:17 p.m. Like that was like this big thing. Like at 2:17 p.m., 2:17 a.m., these kids all got up out their beds and walked out of the house. And they were like, how do we know that they did this at 2:17 a.m.? How do we know they all just walked out of the house and weren't kidnapped? Because people had Ring cameras. So the cameras caught the kids leaving their homes at that time. But none of the cameras caught where they went. The whole premise of the movie is trying to figure out, what happened to these kids. That's the beginning of the movie. Then other stuff starts happening. But the whole thing is about trying to figure out what happens to these kids. And I'm like, so you acknowledge the fact that in this day and age, people have Ring cameras where they can see things happening, but nobody had a camera that showed where the kids went. Like, one of the guys we see is the dad of one of the kids, and from his Ring camera, the kid walks out the front door, runs across the street, and goes into these big trees that are in between the houses across the street. And that's it. They disappear into the trees and they're gone. No camera picks them up on the other side of the trees, because on the other side are just more houses. It's not like this is one of these towns where they're surrounded by a huge forest and they can't find the kids because they dipped off into the forest. Like, the kids went through a tree line, but the other side of that tree is more houses with more Ring cameras who should have caught something. And then there's this weird thing where, as the parents should, right? They're all pressing the police about, like, what happened to our kid? What do you mean you don't know where our kids are? Like, trying to figure out what was going on. Like, what evidence do you have? And then the police are kind of just like telling them to calm down. They're like, we got the FBI involved. We're doing all of these things to find these kids. Like, calm down. We're doing our best. We're hyper vigilant, everything like that. The cops didn't seem too concerned. And so that's why I thought is this a cult thing? Like, are the cops in on it? Because they didn't seem to be that interested. Now, the movie glosses over like a month after this happens. So the whole beginning of the movie is this little girl's voice telling the story of what happened, and then saying they searched for the kids for a month, and then they called off the searches because they were like, wherever they are now, they're either long gone or they're not alive anymore. And then we pick up a month later. So already we're skipping like a huge chunk of story, right? But the way that the cops were acting about this whole thing, you would think that like they were in on it, like that they didn't want to find the missing kids. That's how they was acting. And also too, like, the setting is weird because it also gives the vibe that this is like a small town, because the only locations you see are like the neighborhoods, gas station, liquor store, and the school, and a bar. And there's even this scene where a cop is like driving around and stuff, and I'm like, where are the people at? And if this is a small town where there's nothing around and nothing to do, why aren't y'all more upset about finding 17 missing 9-year-olds? Like, I really did not understand. I for real thought that there was going to be some sort of like conspiracy where the cops were obfuscating the case because they were trying to protect like a big cult that was doing something and that had taken the kids and stuff like that. Spoiler alert, to tell you what really happened, there was no cult. I was surprised. And I mean, pleasantly surprised in the sense that, like, okay, I thought it was going to be a cult thing and it wasn't a cult thing. But it was just one person who did everything. And that was crazy to me. And they try to explain at the end how this person, like, how they slipped through the cracks and how they got everything done and stuff like that. But when they're explaining everything at the end of the movie, it's kind of like there's so many areas where people just were not paying attention, were taking things at face value, and were not digging into anything that was weird. Because it was weird shit that people were just ignoring. Whether it was the principal of the school was ignoring shit, it was the chief of police that was ignoring shit, it was the police officers that were ignoring shit. Like, everybody was just ignoring these signs that something weird was going on. Which, I mean, you could also say, too, the allegory in the movie about, like, child abuse and, like, how people can pick up on the fact that weird things are happening, but everybody wants to mind their own business and nobody wants to get involved. And a child is clearly in some sort of distress. Like, that's a huge, huge thing. Because when you see situations like this where children are being neglected or abused in some way, like, a lot of people just don't want to get involved. Like, they don't want to do anything about it. They want to close their eyes and pretend that there's nothing weird happening. But it seemed like everybody did this about 17 missing kids. That's crazy to me. So that's like cranked up to 11. That's crazy to me. And then the first act of the movie, or section of the movie, they break it up into individual people. So the first person that we focus on is Justine, who is the teacher of this class where all these kids went missing. And we get to know her. I'm thinking she about to be the main character. And I mean, I guess she's a main character, but I'm thinking she's about to be the one that you're going to be following throughout the entire movie. And there's multiple sections of the movie that have nothing to do with her. Like, there's multiple sections of the movie where she's like a background character, and they're just trying to show you what was happening in another part of town at the same time that this was happening, which I like that format. But I'm so used to like you having your main protagonist and them driving the plot forward. And she did for her section. But when her section ended, it jumped to a whole other person. And then when their section ended, it jumped to a whole other person, and used these people as ways to, you know, tell the story through the perspective of multiple different people. And with Justine, that she's young, but she got an old lady haircut and she wear old lady glasses. She lives alone. She's single. She ain't got no kids. Somebody who was blaming her for the kids disappearing looked into her background and found out that she had left her previous school because she had a relationship with another teacher. And then later she was being accused of like being inappropriate with students. And I was like, hold on, inappropriate with students? That's a huge red flag. I think the police would be all over her for that. Like, but we never even saw the police like really fully investigating her like that. But then it's like, oh, I was inappropriate with a student because a child was crying and I hugged them. And I was like, oh, okay, I could see where a school would like, you know, be like, hey, don't touch kids, you know, even though it's like a hug. But it was just like all of these different bits and pieces that I was like, did Justine do something? But by the end of her segment, you were like, oh, she's completely innocent. There's some other fuck shit that's going on. And now we got to figure out who's actually pulling the strings, who's actually driving this whole story from behind the scenes. There was these random moments where people were having nightmares about a clown, and I was like, oh shit, this has to be like some culty shit. This has to be some supernatural shit. Like maybe there's like a ghost involved, because there was like these random jump scares of like a clown that was like in people's bedrooms or like following them in the forest. And I was like, oh, okay, so this clown is like the Pied Piper. They lured the children away. I picked that piece up. But then I was like, who is a clown? Where we finally see the only person in town who looks like a clown. And it's an old lady with a bad wig. I was like, oh, okay, I see now the real story. Because while these other stories were giving us bits and pieces of things, every time the segment ended, I was again just like, what? Huh? What is happening? I really don't understand what is going on. So it literally kept me like, my brain wanting so bad to pick up the pieces and the patterns, it kept me guessing like I did not know what was going on. And that's a good thing. If you've watched this already and you're like, what the fuck happened, meaning I will tell you what the fuck happened. A lot of it is explained in the end of the movie. There's some stuff they didn't explain, but I will try my best to explain it to you. So there's one kid in Justine's class who does not go missing along with the other kids. He's the only kid who is there on the day that the other kids are missing, and his name is Alex. So immediately when they told me at the beginning that he was the one person that didn't go anywhere, I was like, he did it. He did it. They even had scenes where he was getting bullied by other kids. I was like, he did it. I don't know how he did it, but somehow he did it. And he was acting real suspicious throughout the whole movie too. I was like, he either did it or he know who did it, and he's okay with what happened because they was bullying him. I was jumping to all kinds of conclusions. So he didn't do it. So what really happened, but Alex is involved. What really happened is that this old lady showed up at Alex's parents' house, and she is apparently supposed to be his mom's aunt. So she's very old. She's got a bad red wig, and wears a lot of makeup. She's very sickly. And the parents say they haven't seen her in 13 years. Alex is 9. So that means that he's never met her. Even though when she meets him, she's like, oh, I haven't seen you since you were a baby. She's never seen him. She just said that stuff. But because I'm assuming Alex's grandma is not here anymore, they decide to take her in because she's very sick, and they're kind of treating it like she's not going to last long. She should have somewhere that's comfortable. She doesn't have anywhere to go. What happened wherever she was? No idea. We find out at the end of the movie that Alex had another aunt or something. So I'm just like, whatever happened, didn't nobody want to take her in. But his mom knows her. So she's not some random lady who showed up and be like, hey, I'm your great aunt, and they just believe her. His mom knows her. So he is related to this woman somehow. It's just really weird, and none of it's explained. So she gets in, she's all sickly and old, but then she starts doing like magic, voodoo, weird shit. And she uses the magic on the parents to make them go like completely catatonic, to where they are completely under her control, can't talk, can't do anything. Well, they can talk a little bit at first, but as time goes on, they can't talk anymore, and they just sit there. And she is using this magic not only to control them, but also to take, like, I think she takes like their life force or something to sustain herself, because she starts off being very, very sickly and ill and can barely move, to being able to like walk around and move on her own. Like, the more people that she puts under her spell with her magic, the stronger she becomes. She doesn't look necessarily younger, but she becomes more stronger and more able to do things. Alice even catches her being sick one time and is like, what do you need? Do you need to go to the hospital? And she's like, oh no, a hospital can't help me. I need more people to fuel whatever the fuck it is that she's doing, to make herself, I guess younger, live forever, healthier, whatever it is. After she takes over the parents, she is better for a time, but after a while, it kind of wears off, and it turns out to be not good enough. Their life force or whatever she's drained out of them is not good enough to sustain her. And the whole time this is happening, Alex is being forced to go to school like everything's normal. He's, instead of his dad, who always picks him up, he never rode the bus. His dad picks him up. Now all of a sudden he's riding a bus. He's being really quiet in school. Justine's talking to him. He's got nothing to say to her about anything. And he goes to the grocery store by himself, and he buys a shit ton of cans of soup so that he can then feed his parents soup to keep them alive, while his great aunt is like stealing their life force. So multiple areas of issues, right? Nobody notices the fact that his dad used to always pick him up, and now he riding a bus. Nobody questions it. Justine notices he's being weird. He's quieter than usual. She even says it. She tries to check in with him. Something's not right, but she lets it go because he's like, yeah, I just don't want to be around other kids. Then the store clerk has a 9-year-old. Now, this is America. This ain't Japan. A 9-year-old who's coming in every other day buying cans of soup. That's all he buys. And then after getting the soup, he walks all the way home by himself. So, if this is a small enough town the way it looks, I think someone should have reported the fact that this kid is here by themselves with no parents every other day buying cans of soup. And that's it. That's weird. He ain't buying TV dinners. He's not buying candy. He's not buying anything that a normal kid would want to pick up. He is buying soup. Campbell's soup, because product placement, but soup. This is a kid who is established to not even know how to use a can opener, and then starts having to buy soup that has the little pull top on it because he can't use a can opener right. So this is crazy. So he's buying the soup and he's feeding his parents while she's over there draining their life forces. But eventually it's not enough. So she tells him, like, if you give me something, I need something from all the kids in your class. He's like, if I give you something from all the kids in your class and you get healthier, will you leave? Will you go back to where you came from and leave me and my parents alone? Because she's already shown him that she can make his parents kill themselves, basically, or just hurt themselves if he doesn't comply. She says, yeah, I'll go back home if you give me something from all of the kids in your class. So he takes something from all the kids in the class and gives it to her. And that night she does another ritual that then controls all the kids and makes them all leave and come to her house. And I know your first question is, well, if the kids was all in the house the whole time, wouldn't the police have noticed? The police did come by. She made the kids all leave and hide somewhere. I don't know where they hid in this time frame. When the cops came to like investigate the house and look and see how they're living, they wouldn't find anything weird. But the first thing that should have been found weird was the fact that the mom is nowhere to be found when the police look into this. And it doesn't seem like the mom had a job or anything. She was just always at home when he came home from school. The dad's not going to work if he had a job. Because like, there's no way neither of your parents had a job and you got this big ass house. Dad's not going to work anymore. And then this random lady who is not his legal guardian and is not on any paperwork, nothing has been signed over to this random lady. She's like, oh, I'm his great aunt. And his dad had a stroke, so I'm here to speak on his behalf, and I'm taking care of them and all of this stuff. All that shit's still mad weird, because if the dad had a stroke, where's the mom? She doesn't explain what happened to the mom. Now she's around, but I don't think that the police like interview the mom or anything. She probably said the mom was out, because if you saw two people, both this kid's parents are in a catatonic state, that would be suspicious. But nobody asked where the mom was. They were just like, oh, this is Alex's dad. He had a stroke. Don't worry. I'm here to translate everything for him. And I'm going to take care of him. And I'm going to take care of Alex and all of this stuff. And this was shared with the police, but apparently never shared with the school. Because even the principal did not know this. Because when the principal sent the letter home saying, I want to speak to the parents, could they come in? And this old lady with this bad wig showed up. He was like, oh, you're not, we haven't met before. Oh, you're not his legal guardian? I really need to speak to the parents. Like, he doesn't know. And she's like, oh, they're sick, but don't worry, it's nothing too bad. They're just sick and they can't come in right now and stuff like that. So this information was never shared with the school, which is another thing. Like, why would you not share with the school that this kid who is the only kid left in this class who is central to this whole story, his parents, who the principal would have met multiple times at this point, are MIA. They're suddenly sick. They're suddenly not around. Because I feel like he would have been at least to be like, well, what about the mom? We know the mom's alive. People not asking questions. People taking shit at face value. Why? Why are people just trusting each other? I don't know. She does all this stuff to get away with it. And the only reason that things ramp up a month later is because of the fact that Justine starts being nosy, and everybody's telling her to stay out of it because everybody thinks she has something to do with it, except the police. The police don't think she had anything to do with it. But all the parents of the missing kids think that she has something to do with it because it's your class. You mean to tell me all these kids just had a secret plan to run off in the middle of the night and you ain't know nothing about it? You didn't hear nothing about it? They couldn't have been watching TV because then other kids would have saw the TV show. What was you doing in your class that only your class disappeared? So she decides to be nosy and push boundaries and try to figure out what is going on. And people like all come at her for like, you're so obsessive and it's inappropriate and you're crossing the line. But who the fuck else is checking up on this kid? So the detectives coming one time was enough for them to be like, this kid is totally fine. Everybody want to talk about how much he's been through and how he needs to have a normal life and stuff. But nobody's talking about the fact that his home life seemed to be weird. There should be regular check-ins at his house. Or at least a police officer monitoring the house to see if the person who was responsible for all them other kids missing comes after him. Or if whatever made those other kids leave will also make him randomly leave one day. Nobody's watching the house. Nobody's looking into this. And now after the police are gone, the lady, she puts all the newspaper on the windows so nobody can see in the windows. And she brings all the kids back and she hides them in the basement. And then now you have 17, 18, 19 people in this house that Alex has to feed soup. So guess where Alex is going every damn day? Because he can only carry so much soup in 2 bags with his little 9-year-old arms. Every day he going to the store buying fucking Campbell's soup. For a month. For a month, he's feeding everybody soup. Nobody picks up the amount of soup you have to buy to feed 2 adults and 17 growing, developing kids over a span of a month should concern someone that this 9-year-old is coming in buying this much soup and you've never seen his parents in the past month. And everybody should know who this kid is because he's the only kid that didn't go missing. What is going on? So then you have the dad of one of the parents who asked to see somebody else's Ring camera footage to see how the visuals compared to what he saw on his Ring camera. And the lady talking about, I'm not comfortable with you seeing the camera. What's on the camera? Don't you control? All you need to show is when your kid left. What is the problem with him seeing it? Do you know this man? It's never explained why she was just like, I don't like him. And then the husband came home and let him see the camera and she just standing there mad like, I kept thinking, I'm like, please, there has to be some kind of cult. Why would people just be refusing to collaborate and share information and work together? It's so weird. It's so weird for no reason. You know, this is somebody whose kid went missing too, along with everybody else's kids. And you know him because this is a small town. No idea. They should have dropped a line or something to be like, you know, ever since we hooked up that one time. I don't know. I don't know why she didn't want to show him the camera. But that's the only thing that happens to let him know that all them kids had this weird ass like thing where they had their arms out when they ran, which is super weird for no reason. That was very common, and that allows him to connect a very important dot. There's the cats going to eat. So because the dad of one of the missing kids and Justine are now meddling and they're trying to look into stuff, like Justine tries to camp out outside the house to see if there's something weird going on in Alex's house. She does walk around. She looks through the window. She spots his parents sitting catatonic on the couch looking messed the fuck up. And that immediately triggers her to be like, something is seriously wrong in this house, but Alex won't talk about it. So the more people start to meddle, the more that Aunt Gladys starts like, you know, killing people, because she's like, people are trying to look into stuff. And so she starts using her magic to, you know, do her little rituals to take out the adults who are being meddling. So one of the things she does is when Justine tells Marcus, who is the principal, hey, something weird going on in the house, I went up there and I looked and his parents are in there like just sitting there staring. They have no reaction to me being here, no reaction to anyone knocking on the door or anything. There's a newspaper on the window. That's a classic sign there's some fuck shit going on. And so Marcus is like, I'm not going to call the police and I'm not going to get CPS involved. I'm just going to have somebody come forward and talk to them. And so when he talks to Gladys, he's like, look, I don't want to get CPS involved. I just need to talk to the parents. We'll clear everything up. And that automatically gets Gladys to be like, bet. And she was literally like, who reported me? And he was like, I can't tell you that. And she was like, all right, bet. But of course, Gladys figures out who it is because Justine was fucking sitting outside their house all night and she fell asleep in the car. And so they were able to sneak into the car and like take a lock of her hair, which Gladys uses for her rituals and stuff. So this kicks off what is the craziest scene. And this scene happens at the end of Justine's section, which is the first section, but you don't know why until all the way until you get to Marcus's section to figure out what the hell happened to him that day. But at the end of Justine's section, she's arguing with Archer, who is the dad of one of the missing kids, who thinks that she has something to do with it. And they're getting into an argument at the gas station when Marcus starts running at them. And his arms are out like this, and his eyes are bulging, and his face is covered in blood, and he attacks Justine. Now, I thought when I first saw this was that he saw some craziness, and then he went to warn Justine. But no, he was actually trying to kill her. Archer, of course, tries to protect Justine to help her out, and she runs off. And even the gas station attendant did not get from behind the cash register, did not call the police to report anything that happened, and did not help Justine. Like, clearly this woman was just being attacked out by the pump. She ran in screaming, help me. And this man who is covered in blood is running and chasing her around your store. trying to attack her. Not only, and I can understand maybe you not wanting to really help her because maybe you don't like her. Maybe one of his kids went missing. I don't know. We don't know much about this store clerk. But this man is covered in blood. Like, and there's drug addicts all over the city. He's covered in blood. He's knocking over your shit. He's smashing through glass, trying to kill this woman, and you don't call the police? And one of the characters who we watch a segment of them is a police officer. So we get to see, what's happened at the police station. Doesn't call the police. It's funny how everybody in this town they be minding their business so damn hard that someone can smash up your store and you don't get involved to try to stop them or call the fucking police. So all of this goes down until Archer is able to knock him over, and she runs out, gets into her car, and drives off. And Marcus, the principal, is chasing after the car, and he keeps going until he gets hit by another car and ends up dying. So that's the only way that Justine is able to actually get away from this man. And Archer recognizes the way that he's running is exactly the way his son was running in the video, and is exactly the way that other lady's kid was running in the video. He's like, this has to be connected. Whoever made the kids leave made Marcus attack you. So that's how he comes to trust Justine, because it's like something else is going on. Something bigger is going on. And the way that Gladys got Marcus was that she showed up at his door with some bullshit excuse that she had got off the wrong bus stop and walked all the way over there, and she's old and she needs a glass of water. And that's enough to get her in their house. She gets in the house. She starts doing weird shit. She's like, oh, can I get a bowl of water? Because I like to drink water out of bowl. And they're like, oh, that's weird. Okay, here's a bowl of water. Then they see her going in, pulling out a fucking twig with weird shit on it and hair around it, and she's pricking her finger. She's doing all types of witch shit, and they're just standing there looking like, why you doing that, lady? What's going on? Why is she in your kitchen? You don't know her. You don't know her from a can of paint. Why is she in your kitchen? I really don't understand. But she does her little ritual thing, which causes Marcus to be like possessed and attack and kill his partner and then run after Justine. And then the police officer gets involved because of the fact that he has a drinking problem, and he was drinking on the job, and he got into it with this homeless addict kid who is running around trying to, he trying to get to the crack. That's all he trying to do. He just trying to smoke some rock, and he trying to sell stuff so he can get some money so he can smoke some rock again. That's all he want to do. But he runs afoul of a police officer who's drinking on a job, and the police officer gets in trouble, and he threatens the drug addict, don't ever come around here again or it's going to be a problem. He sees him, chases him down, and basically the drug addict reveals that he had broken into Alex's house to steal stuff. And when he broke in, he realized that the parents were there, but they weren't doing anything. So he thought that they were drug addicts too. So he was just robbing them. But then he went in the basement and he saw there's a bunch of kids down there. And he saw that there's a $50,000 reward for anybody who could find what happened to the kids, which I think that number's low. So then he's like, oh shit, I need to go tell the police about what I saw so I can get $50,000. You know how much crack I can smoke if I get $50,000? So he tries to do that, but then the cop sees him and he chases him down again. And he's like, but I know where the kids are though. I promise you I do. So when the cop goes in to get involved, somehow, some way, this grown ass man, little old Gladys, is able to, because what she has to do, oh, she has to get some hair from you. She needs the hair to do her little ritual. Gets the hair, does her little ritual, and he's in there for hours. I'm talking daytime to nighttime while the addict dude is locked up in the back of the police car. Finally, when Gladys realizes that there's another person involved, she has the cop go out there, drag him, bring him in, hold him down, and she puts him under her spell too. And then she's like, okay, we got to get the fuck out of Dodge. Like, we're going to have to leave the town because there's police involved now. We got to go. But she plans to go the next day. That was her mistake. Planning to go the next day, Justine and Archer then break into the house that night to figure out what is going on. And she recognizes the cop because, of course, she knows the guy. They come in. The cop and the addict both attack both of them. And, of course, Justine's just a skinny young woman, so she's getting her shit rocked. Archer is not, so he's doing very well against a drug addict. And Gladys is in the back room doing whatever, some shit. And then Alex tries to go see what she's doing, and his parents end up attacking him. So everything's going everywhere at the same time. And then Alex is able to get his hands on one of the little sticks that she has and uses it to make, and uses hair from her wig. That shouldn't work, but somehow it works. And he uses the hair from her wig to get the kids to all attack her. And that is the part where everybody in the theater laughs. These kids are chasing down this old woman all throughout the neighborhood. And it is hilarious because they are like bursting through windows, doors, everything, chasing this woman before finally attacking her and killing her. And part of it is hilarious. But the fact is the fact that you see multiple people in the neighborhood. People are mowing their lawn. People are sitting in the house. This old lady running for her life, screaming, and a bunch of kids chasing after her. And everybody's just like, that's weird. Oh, well, back to cutting the grass. Like, again, minding their business to a T. If Mind Your Business was a town of people, it is all of these people. I don't even know what the police are doing, because the police themselves was mad. They was like, these parents keep coming up to us, asking us for updates on the case about they missing kids. Yeah, nigga. Like, why would they not ask that? But everybody's just like, yeah, well, whatever. Some ladies screaming bloody murder running through the neighborhood. And then she's running through people's houses, and the kids are crashing through the windows and glass doors, chasing after her, falling over, getting back up, and chasing after her. They're in their pajamas, no shoes on. So you would, if I was sitting in my living room with my kid, and an old lady in her pajamas runs through screaming bloody murder, and a bunch of 9-year-olds crash through the windows, run over glass, and then crash through my other window, and they've just came through my house like a fucking tornado, the first thing I'm doing is calling the police, because there's no way that a 9-year-old is about to crash through 2 windows, run across glass, and not have it affect them at all. I'm calling 911. That lady called her husband and was like, they broke our windows. Go find some shoes for our daughter, because she can't step on the glass. And they're all just annoyed. They're all just mad that some kids broke their windows and that there's glass on the floor. She's like, there's glass everywhere. Ma'am, call the police. They did this to multiple people's houses. Because it's like early in the morning, so people are eating breakfast and shit. They ran through multiple people's houses. And people were more annoyed that their windows were broken and there was glass on the floor. I can't with this town. I'm surprised that y'all didn't have kids go missing before, because this is the type of town that is a prime target for a serial killer. The amount of mind your business that everybody got going on, like literally, and this is a part of the allegory too about child abuse. Until it affects you, it means nothing. Until it's in your house, even if it was in your house, you're still more worried about the inconvenience of a window being broken than you are about the fact that, hey, ain't them the missing kids? Ain't we been looking for 17 9-year-olds? That's a shit ton of 9-year-olds that just ran through my house in their pajamas. Didn't all the kids go missing at night in their pajamas? Don't nobody give a fuck about these kids but the parents. And even then, it seemed like only one parent, which was Archer, that we got to see, continued to give a fuck about his kid, because everybody else was just like, as long as Justine didn't have a job, they somehow thought that was justice. They somehow was chill. Archer was the one still having to rile everybody up. Like, why you need riling up? Your kid's been missing. Your 9-year-old's been gone for a month. You needed somebody to rile you up. That's crazy. That's crazy. I've been talking for way too long. I'm sorry. But yeah, and then as I was walking out, I saw the poster again. It was talking about how all the kids left and they never came back. And I was like, that's a lot. They came back. But then I remember at the very end, they didn't fully come back. Like mentally, everybody who was affected by the ritual that she did was basically catatonic. Like, they never made like a full recovery and they were just back to normal. They were all like messed up. The parents, I think, had to be locked away because they were catatonic. They wouldn't move. And then the lady at the end said, some of the kids even started to speak again, which means most of the kids never spoke again because for a month they were just standing. I mean, the kids had it worse. Like for an entire month, they were just standing in that basement eating soup. The parents at least got to sit on the couch. The kids didn't even get to sit down. They were just standing there. So, yeah, it's like, I explained the best that I can, but it was very much a like, what the fuck happened? Like, and there's no explanation about Aunt Gladys on, where her powers came from or what's the secret behind her thing or why, what illness that she has or if she's just a witch. Because everybody called Justine a witch in the beginning. Like, if she's just a random witch. But the fact that her niece, Alex's mom, had not seen her in 13 years could say that something weird happened in that time frame where she did, have some sort of affliction or she got cursed in some way where she had to basically like hide away from the world for that period of time. And it also is like implies she probably did a similar thing to other people before. She was very cavalier about this. This was not some I'm desperate and then I just figured this shit out. Like, she had an entire tree that she was growing in a little pot that was providing her with the twigs that she was using to, possess people. So this is something that she's was probably been doing and had to come around and finally decide that, okay, I'm not able to do it wherever she was anymore. She was like, I have nowhere to go. So she then eventually had to resort to coming after her own niece because they are the only people at that point who would take pity on her and allow her into their home. And I can understand why the family allowed her into the home. I can't understand why fucking Marcus did. I don't know you, bitch. You can't come in my house. And it seemed like he was kind of like, I don't know, I'm not comfortable about this. But then his husband was like, what are you talking about, honey? Let him in. Excuse the fuck out of you? No. But see, this is why I couldn't be with somebody that damn nice. You just let some random person in the house. You don't know her. And he paid the price because, he wanted to be all nice to some random old lady in a clown wig and he got his face smashed in. So, moral of the story, don't be so nice to people and pay attention to the signs when a child or any person really is in danger, but especially when a child is in danger. They start acting weird at school all of a sudden. You ain't heard from their parents. You don't see their parents no more. Like, check in on these kids. All this stuff going on behind closed doors. Somebody call you saying they got newspaper on the door. That's kind of a big sign that something weird is happening in the house for you to be like, I don't want to get CPS involved. Those of you who watched the movie, I hope you watched the movie if you are watching me talk about it. But those of you who watched the movie, tell me what you thought. I know there's going to be more videos coming out where people are going to be able to be like, and this tree is from the ancient culture of Lithuania, and that's how she got the power. Like, they're going to have all these extra connections that people are going to be finding off the internet that I just don't have. So I'm really interested to watch those videos, but I'm interested to hear what you guys thought about this movie because this is crazy. But I really enjoyed the fact that I could not at any point predict what was going to happen. At any point, I genuinely thought Justine was going to die. I was like, this movie is subverting my expectations. Why not kill the person who I thought was the protagonist of the movie? Like, it was just thing after thing that didn't make any sense. And even when everything was explained to you, there are still so many things that like don't make sense. But I think it's mostly about the fact that nobody gave a fuck about these kids. It's like one determined dad. And everybody else's parents was just like, my kid's gone. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.